Fasting, low carb, calorie counting, have you tried them all? If you have, you are not alone. Most women I work with have done everything and still feel like nothing works anymore. So today I'm going to break down which one of those methods actually work and what to prioritize if you want sustainable fat loss after 40. So you might have noticed that back in our 20s and 30s, we could cut back a little, clean things up, and the weight would come off, no problem. And now we do the same things and crickets, nothing. A lot of women I speak to feel like they are doing everything right. They're exercising, they're trying to eat well and still not seeing results, and it's frustrating. And it's not for lack of effort, but your body is different now and it needs a different strategy. See, the thing is, most women I speak to who want to lose fat after 40 have already tried a bunch of things. It's not like you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs, trying to see it out and figure out if your body will lose weight by itself. You've probably tried a lot of things already. And the most common ones that I hear are fasting, low carb or keto, and calorie counting. And the thing is, they can all work, at least in the short term, but they're probably not what is going to work for you in the long term, at least for some of those. And the reason any diet works, you might have heard me say this before, but the reason any diet works is because it helps you create a calorie deficit. So therefore, any diet that will help you create a calorie deficit can work. But for how long and the other side effects and how sustainable it is will determine whether it works for you in the long run or whether you're going to put all the weight back on again as soon as you stop. So I'm going to break down each of these three strategies and the pros and the cons so that you can decide for yourself. Let's start with number one, and I feel like this is probably the most common thing that women over 40 will try because it's really having its moment in the sun, and that is fasting, also known as time restricted eating or 5-2 or the 800 fast diet. There's all sorts of different names for it, but at the end of the day, it's a variation of intermittent fasting. Now let's start with the pros, because some of you may know that, spoiler alert, not a big fan of fasting for women over 40 for reasons I'll let you know in a moment, but I know there's some women who love it and who do very well on it. So let's start with the pros. One, as I said before, it can help you reduce your overall calorie intake. The reason it does that is because you're shortening the time in which you are eating your food. So therefore, for a lot of people, they're going to eat less food overall. So therefore, it helps you create a calorie deficit. So it's not magic, but some find that it's easy to stick to, and it means that if you're only eating in an 8-hour period through the day, that you're eating fewer calories overall. Now, the cons when it comes to fasting. One is that skipped meals can mean energy crashes and binging later. I don't know if you've ever tried fasting and it hasn't worked for you because you felt super hungry or really low in energy and have ended up binging later. This can be why. It can also mess with your blood sugar, ups and downs, your mood and your sleep. And one of my major criticisms of it is it's very hard to get enough protein with a lot of intermittent fasting regimes, because when you're skipping meals, you're not getting the volume in overall, and therefore you're getting an insufficient amount of protein in. And we know that protein is very important for muscle and metabolism. So in the long term, we're doing ourselves a disservice if we are losing weight, but a lot of that weight is coming from muscle and not just body fat. It's also not ideal for women with high stress or irregular schedules. So the bottom line with fasting, it can work in the short term, but it's not a magic bullet. There is nothing magical about fasting. No matter what you might hear or read, there is nothing magical about fasting that helps you lose fat other than the fact it can help create a calorie deficit. So it is an option, but it's certainly not the only option. Let's go now to number two, so low carb or keto. So pros with low carb or keto. For some people, they find it can help reduce their cravings. It does create a quick water weight loss, which can feel very motivating. If you see the scale move, people who are on keto or really low carb often report seeing 2 or 3 kilos come off very quickly. It's important to note that I said water loss. It's not fat loss. Fat loss does not happen that fast, but if you're really motivated by the scale and you see that water loss and the scale dropping quickly, it can motivate you to continue. Let's jump to the cons though. It's really not sustainable for most women, particularly in perimenopause when we need carbohydrates for energy. It can increase cravings and fatigue and irritability. I don't know about you, but I don't need something that increases my irritability at this moment or my fatigue. It can impact mood and sleep in many women. And I think most of all, one of my new clients summed this up. This is one of the things that she had tried in the past before she came on board with the Goddess Project. And she said it made her miserable. And she said, if losing weight means cutting carbs, then I am just going to stay fat. Bottom line, if it makes you miserable, it's not the right plan. And there are other options, and often better options. Number 3, let's talk about calorie tracking or calorie counting or macro tracking, all part of the same process. The pros of calorie counting or macro counting brings awareness to what you're eating. So you might track your calories and track your protein for a period of time, a week or 2 weeks, and you can look back at the data and think, oh, that's why I'm not getting enough protein, or I'm clearly not getting enough protein for my needs. It can also help identify hidden calories that you might not realize are in there, or gaps in your diet. So when it comes to hidden calories, you're eating, for example, a sandwich every day with a tablespoon of mayonnaise, and all of a sudden you realize, oh my goodness, mayonnaise has 200 calories for the amount that I'm eating. So those sorts of things can bring awareness to things that you are eating on a regular basis and maybe why you are overeating in calories. It can also bring awareness to gaps in your diet, things like micronutrients, but also fiber is a big one. I find fiber and protein, when we actually track what we're eating, often we find that we are getting insufficient amounts of both of those. It can be very empowering when done with flexibility, as in you have complete control over what you eat. You don't have to just stick with chicken salad and broccoli and rice. You can have a lot more flexibility in terms of what you eat when you know exactly what the calorie and macronutrient content of your food is. It's also a repeatable process. This is probably what I like best about it. And I'm someone who does track macros if I want to lose fat. At the moment, I'm in a fat loss phase, so I'm tracking my macros meticulously because it's repeatable and the data we can use to get the results that we want. So when I say repeatable, when you go on holidays or social events, you can adjust your macronutrients and still track and adjust them according to the data. Whereas with fasting and keto, if you're in a situation where you can't do fasting, you can't do keto, there's no way to adjust it to the situation that you're in. At the moment, just coming back to my personal experience with it, some of you will know I am training for a powerlifting competition, and in powerlifting there are weight classes. So not only do I need to maintain my muscle and strength, I need to lose a couple of kilos in this process too. In fact, 3 kilos over 9 weeks. Because I'm tracking my macros and my calories, I know exactly how to achieve this in that period of time because I've got the data and I know how to manipulate it. So some of the cons though, it's not all sunshine and roses like with anything. The cons for calorie tracking. Some women can feel very overwhelmed and or triggered by numbers. And I'm not just talking about maths, I'm talking about tracking things that they eat. If you are someone who has struggled with potentially disordered eating in your life and you feel this is another restrictive way of eating, then it might be triggering for you. If you're someone who gets very overwhelmed by having to put everything down and work out the numbers, then it might be overwhelming for you. The bottom line is it is a great tool for awareness, and you might want to do it for a week or two to bring some awareness in, but it's not the only way to make progress. Some of my clients track, some don't. I think it's probably 50-50. One client I just spoke to has lost 20 kilos over the last 16 months. She's amazing. She hasn't tracked calories at all the whole time. She has brought some awareness to her food with different strategies, doesn't track calories, and she's lost 20 kilos and looks amazing. Another client who's just lost 10 kilos, hit the magic 10 kilo mark, has tracked calories. So it works for some and it's not for everyone. So it's not essential, but can definitely be helpful when done with the right mindset. So the crux of this, which one works? Here's the truth. As I said at the start, all of these can work in the short term. None of them address the deeper issues, which is your body's needs after 40. It's not always just about creating that calorie deficit and that's the bottom line. Otherwise, probably everyone will be exactly where they want it to be. The real question when it comes to choosing whatever method you're going to use is, number one, is it sustainable for you? Can you see yourself doing this in 5 years, 10 years time? Number two, Does it support your energy, your hormones, and your real life? Can you fit it into your life? And I'm talking about when you're sick, when you're on holidays, when you're busy, when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed. Does it work no matter what season of life that you're in? And number 3, can you actually stick to it? Certainly, can you stick to it long enough to see results and to be able to maintain those results, importantly? Because it's all very well to lose the weight, but if you keep losing it and putting it back on again, that is worse than never having lost it in the first place, in my opinion, because it's very frustrating. So what does work after 40? Let's break it down for you. Number 1, more protein and fiber to support metabolism and manage hunger. I keep it very simple in the Goddess Project. We talk about protein and plants and how do we fit that into your life in a way that works for you so you see results. Very simple. You don't need more overwhelm. Protein and fiber, super important. Number 2, smart strength training. Not just more cardio, not just more for the sake of more. Smart strength training does work after 40. Number 3, very important, small sustainable habits built around your actual life, not your ideal life that you live in an ideal world where there's no interruptions and no responsibilities and no stress or pressure. Number 4, a flexible structure, not rigid rules. If you are still following a meal plan like it's 1995 and expecting to get results, then you're going to be in for a rude shock. Meal plans don't work for the long term in real life. We need a flexible structure that you can follow. And number 5, super important, accountability and support when life gets chaotic, because it will for all of us at some point. So if you're done bouncing around between diet trends, just want a plan that actually works with your body and not against it, that is exactly what we do inside the Goddess Project, where I help women lose fat, build strength, and feel confident again without obsessing or starting over every Monday. I did just open up this week 3 new spaces to start next week in the Goddess Project. One has already been filled, but if you are keen for one of the other 2 spots, send me a message. If you have questions, just send me a DM. I'll answer them then. Thanks, girls.